poverty, we want to create wealth instead. And so we have developed an ATM and AM strategy where agricultural production and commercialization is emphasized with mega farms on the scale. Irrigation, we're developing right now what will be the largest irrigation system in Southern Africa, which they already do with some of our music, tourism, concerts, and stuff. But mining, we have discovered now, we never thought the rare earth, the graphite, the rutile, the largest deposits of rutile, graphite, the rutile, the largest deposits of rutile, 97% pure type, exploited that then become partners to unlock some of these. We have all manner of mines, but manufacturing has to happen in the country. For example, the mega farms I just mentioned. We need to have systems where these farms are and have factories there, add value to what factories there, add value to what we produce, the coffee, the tea, what we produce, the coffee, the tea, and benefits of those who buy as well as those.
As the mic goes to His Excellency Mohamedou Isifu, and after him to His Excellency. How can we leverage investment flows between African and Caribbean nations? The African Export-Import Bank has been a vital vehicle facilitating banks,
Merci effectivement.
Saluer.
Merci effectivement.
Saluer. 32e Assemblée Générale, je salue également. 32e Assemblée Générale, je salue également le mandat avec des priorités bien déterminées. Et j'avais évalué ce programme à 23 milliards de dollars. J'ai pu en mobiliser 22 milliards. 22 milliards à partir des ressources internes. 22 milliards budgétaires sous forme de prêts concessionnels et sous forme également de bons de trésor, d'obligations qu'on a pu placer sur le marché régional de l'UEMOA. Mais au niveau du continent. Quels sont cet agenda dont le rapport avec les autres projets phares, par exemple le plan de développement des infrastructures en Afrique, il nous faut développer l'énergie, il faut développer les infrastructures ferroviaires, il faut développer les infrastructures numériques, etc. Même chose pour le projet de développement industriel de l'Afrique et le projet de développement agricole de l'Afrique. Tous ces projets doivent être mis en œuvre ensemble. La zone de libre-échange continentale africaine ne doit pas être perçue comme étant un projet isolé. Maintenant, il y a des obstacles. Je vais essayer d'aller vite parce que je sais que le temps est important. Je voudrais mettre l'accent sur deux problèmes que l'Afrique doit résoudre. Le premier problème, c'est celui de l'échange inégal. Simple réservoir de matières premières, exportatrice de matières premières et importatrice de produits finis. À travers cet échange, l'Afrique s'appauvrit. Ce n'est pas l'Afrique seulement, de manière générale, les pays pauvres s'appauvrissent à travers l'échange inégal. J'ai un chiffre. En 2017, les pays pauvres ont perdu 2200 milliards de dollars à travers l'échange illégal. Je dis bien 2200 milliards de dollars à travers l'échange illégal. Par conséquent, une des priorités pour l'Afrique, c'est de créer des chaînes de valeur. Deuxième problème, je l'ai un peu évoqué en parlant du bilan de mes 10 ans au Niger. c'est l'architecture financière internationale qui est inéquitable. L'architecture financière internationale est inéquitable parce que les pays pauvres ont difficilement accès aux ressources du marché financier international. Ils y ont accès à des coûts très élevés. Les écarts de taux d'intérêt entre les pays du Sud et les pays du Nord sont très élevés. Là également, il y a un transfert de richesse qui se produit à travers les taux d'intérêt, à travers cette architecture financière internationale injuste. Nous avons à plusieurs reprises fait le plaidoyer pour la réforme de l'architecture financière internationale. On n'y est pas encore effectivement arrivé. Je donne un autre exemple de l'inéquité de l'architecture financière internationale. C'est la formule de calcul des quotes-parts au niveau du FMI pour les DTS. Vous savez que cette formule privilégie les pays développés dans la mesure où la pondération qui est faite prévoit un poids de 50% pour le PIB, un poids de 30% pour l'ouverture du marché, de l'économie du pays en question, un poids de 15% pour les fluctuations économiques et 5% pour les réserves. C'est une formule qui est... Je place le système de panafricain de paiement. C'est un système extrêmement important, je pense, pour le processus de la zone de libre-échange continentale africaine, dans la mesure où il permet de faciliter les paiements transfrontaliers en monnaie locale, avec l'avantage que ces paiements transfrontaliers sont faits à moindre coût et dans des délais effectivement raisonnables. Aujourd'hui, on a beaucoup de pays africains et des pays des Caraïbes qui font partie de ce mécanisme. On lance un appel pour que les autres pays qui n'ont pas encore adhéré à ce mécanisme adhèrent à ce mécanisme, surtout dans la situation actuelle de multipolarisation du monde, surtout dans la situation actuelle où l'hégémonie d'un seul est contestée, surtout dans ce contexte donc où l'Afrique a effectivement besoin d'accélérer le processus d'intégration. Et l'idéal serait, je pense, qu'on avance vers la mise en place des monnaies régionales et plus tard la monnaie commune africaine. Je regrette qu'un de mes regrets quand j'étais président et champion de la monnaie unique de la CEDEAO, c'est de n'avoir pas pu faire aboutir ce projet de monnaie unique de la CEDEAO, alors qu'on était très proche du but, mais malheureusement, la COVID-19 a fait que les pays se sont éloignés du pacte de convergence qu'on avait mis en place. Merci beaucoup de votre attention.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Merci infiniment à son Excellence Mahamadou Issoufou d'avoir partagé avec nous son expérience, son expertise et surtout ses recommandations. Alors avant de poursuivre, je voudrais quand même saluer la présence de deux représentants que j'ai vus. Je me dois forcément de reconnaître la présence du ministre Sanogo qui représente son Excellence Alassane Ouattara, donc de Côte d'Ivoire, aujourd'hui présent. Merci. Notaire Oligui Nguema, également présent aujourd'hui. Et je pense que la question, the next question
is the same question to His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, President of Ghana.
Moderator, thank you very much for the opportunity. And like my colleagues, I'd like to begin by thanking Professor Rama for the invitation to join the Assembly today, and also to wish him the best of luck in his new career. He has been an outstanding champion of the African cause by all of us. So thank you very much for the work that he has done. I, in Ghana, as president of Ghana, have a particular reason for being always very solicitous of the welfare of Orama. At the time of the difficulties that the COVID-19 brought to us and our access to the capital markets of the world, AFREXIMBANK is the one that came to our aid, gave us $750 million at a time when we couldn't access the capital markets of the world. Everybody was turning their back on us, but Orama stepped in and helped us. So as far as that's concerned, I'll always be extremely grateful and solicitous of his welfare. I think that the discussion that we're having and the discussion that we have been having on the continent in the last 2 or 3 decades all point to one fundamental fact. The institutions that we need to propel our development up till today are not in our hands. Prime Minister Patterson talked about the structure of the IMF, and he was illustrating one simple point. If you don't control the institutions of finance, you will not be able to finance your development. And I think that that is the matter that we need to pay the greatest attention to. How do we develop institutions that can enable us fund our development that we ourselves control? 2 or 3 small examples. AfroEximBank today, I think, has a share capital of some 6 billion United States dollars. I'm right, somewhere in that arena. The Japan Bank for International Cooperation has a share capital of nearly 20 billion United States dollars. The the Chinese Exim Bank's figures are in the region of 54, 55 billion dollars. That is all the difference between what Japan can do to fund its development and what we can do to fund our development. So there's a need for us to focus on what is it that we can do to transform the situation. Last in 2024, which is the last year I was president of Ghana, I made a proposal at the AU that each one of the 54 countries on the continent should in future deposit 30% of its sovereign reserves with African multilateral institutions. For the simple reason that these reserves are lying in foreign banks, passive, in some cases deriving negative interest, and yet we are unable to fund our development. And it can only be done if we strengthen our own institutions like the AfroEximBank, the ADB, etc. And for that to happen, we have to put our mouth where our thoughts are. We've got to be able to say to ourselves that if we are serious about the development of this continent, let us make the decisions that will enable us to resolve our problems. We can't do it. We can't do it just by talking. We have to do it by acting. And acting means what? Acting means Professor Sachs says we have the money. Fair enough. If we can find the money, let us use it to develop our own institutions. Let's step back from the discussion, the eternal discussion about debt. We are not going to get any relief of any significant nature from the Western powers as far as debt is concerned. We're asked to pay a risk premium paid by people whose default rates are lower than comparable debts in other regions of the country, whose recovery rates are higher than it is from other areas of the world, largely because of what? Prejudice and exploitation. And we have to understand this situation in order for us to be able to diagnose and do the right thing. But the most critical, the institutions that will enable us to fund our development, the African Central Bank that has been on the table for the last 20 years, headquartered in Lagos in Nigeria, the African Investment Bank, which has also been on the table for the same period, the African Monetary Fund, which has been on the table for the same period. None of these institutions are yet anywhere near being operational. Why is that? Those are decisions we can take for ourselves, and they are the decisions that we need to take. And these are the few comments I made.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. He makes such a good point. Remember yesterday's conversation with Professor Mabubani, where he said that risk premium, Your Excellency, is beneficial to those investors abroad. If they can lift that perception of risk, they charge more. It's just simple mathematics. Back to you.
Okay. So we will go to our last question, and we'll ask three respondents to offer very brief thoughts. We'll go to the Prime Minister of Bahamas first, and then the Prime Minister of Grenada, and then we will go to His Excellency Musa Sanago, who is the Minister of State-Owned Enterprises and Assets, representing the head of state of Cote d'Ivoire. Now, this is the question. Now that the world is discovering that the dollar and the euro are fiat currencies without anchor, what are Caribbean leaders doing and African leaders doing or should be doing on these shifts in global currency awareness? As you look into the future, what currency should we be using to trade? So, His Excellency, the Prime Minister of Bahamas.
I think the question is very timely, particularly when we consider what the global economic landscape is today, being defined by global uncertainty, the uncertainty that attends us, and the decline of multilateralism. In that context, when we consider currencies and what it is for the Bahamas, for example, and many other jurisdictions in the Caribbean, our currency, the Bahamian dollar, and a lot of other CARICOM currencies is pegged to the US dollar and the US dollar alone. For us, we should be considering having a basket of currencies to peg our dollar to, and that's what we are thinking and trying to advance at this moment. And for me, and when we talk about trade and how trade is where currency is necessary for trade, and the disparity or the differences in our currencies, what I would like for consideration to be given is for the development of a digital currency to which all the African countries and CARICOM countries could be a part of for the purposes of facilitating trade, just as the PAPS initiative is facilitating trade in the African countries, and we are now piloting it in the Caribbean to see how it could facilitate trade amongst ourselves and Africa. Perhaps we could also move to what I call a virtual currency that we can advance for the purposes of assisting and facilitating trade.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll go to the Prime Minister of Grenada.
Thank you very much, and let me again thank Professor for having us all here. At the risk of not being redundant, I think it's important to re-emphasize that in the case of Africa, you probably have 54 different currencies. And so if we talk about how we move forward, it also means, I think in this case, getting us to a point where, incidentally in the Caribbean, we may have about 8 different currencies as well. So it obviously means a consolidation of less currencies that we can all work towards ultimately getting us to a point where there is an African currency that includes the diaspora. And if we're able to do so, it's not just about trade, it's also about the movement of people. Because as someone reminded me today, you could be a Nigerian who invests in the US, but you may not be a Nigerian who can get to the US because you don't get a visa to go to the US. So if we have the currencies that allow us to trade with ourselves, then there's really no need to go to the US. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And we will go to the His Excellency Musa Sanogo of Cote d'Ivoire. Ah,
Sorry.
thank you.
OK. Merci beaucoup. Alors, je voudrais déjà transmettre les salutations du président Ouattara à AFREXIMBANK et à l'ensemble des autorités ici présentes. Alors, comme je sais que nous avons un problème de temps, alors vous avez posé des questions sur la problématique de la monnaie. C'est une question extrêmement importante, aussi bien en Afrique de l'Ouest, puisque dans ce processus de création de monnaie unique, et que dans plusieurs communautés économiques régionales africaines, à la vérité, la problématique de monnaie encre est surtout la résultante de la réalité commerciale et de la réalité des échanges. Si nous savons davantage échanger entre nos pays africains, nous n'avons pas besoin de chercher une monnaie encre qui nous permettrait d'être davantage impliqués, insérés dans le commerce international. Mais être capable d'échanger davantage entre nos pays africains, ça suppose que nous serons capables de produire déjà davantage, puisqu'on ne peut échanger que ce qu'on produit. Donc, si nous sommes capables de travailler à améliorer la production, la qualité de la production dans nos différentes économies, alors nous serons capables d'échanger davantage, alors nous serons capables d'avoir une monnaie commune qui ne nécessitera pas d'avoir une encre. Et je voudrais finir peut-être sur ce point. Aujourd'hui, en Côte d'Ivoire, nous avons beaucoup progressé en termes de production de produits transformés. Nous sommes premier producteur mondial de cacao, suivi par nos frères du Ghana. Et nous sommes aujourd'hui à 40% du taux de transformation. Et premier producteur mondial de noix de cajou. Et aujourd'hui, nous sommes à 30% du taux de transformation. Nous espérons, à l'horizon 2030, pouvoir transformer toute notre production sur place et avoir beaucoup plus d'échanges avec nos partenaires africains. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup.
The final word. We are going to the Vice President of Tanzania, His Excellency Dr. Philip Mpango. But as we go to him, I also want to recognize two people who are present with us. From Kenya, His Excellency Dr. Musalia Mudaudi, who is the Prime Cabinet Secretary. And then we have representing the President of Congo, the Minister of Finance, Budget and Public Portfolio, His Excellency Yuka Christian. So if we could recognize that.
Yeah, yes, I think they deserve more of a round of applause because of time, we can't get to them. They're gracious enough to cede the microphone, and this goes for all the representatives that I apologize we didn't get to. I wish God could give me another hour, but alas, I don't have that power. But His Excellency, the Vice President of Tanzania, is here. The Vice President of Tanzania has the last word. Please welcome the words of Dr. Philip Isdor Mpanga.
Well, first, again, to join the others, to thank Professor Benedict for bringing us all here together, but even more for the great service to our continent as head of the AFREXIMBANK over the last couple of years. Congratulations, and we wish you a good life post this particular assignment. I want to make one important, I think, remark as we conclude. We who are currently in office I think, need to realize that the global economy that we are in is not only fragile, but it differs from country to country in our continent. And therefore, what is important first, I think, is to consolidate, build resilience of the economies of our region. And for this, I want to point out a few areas. One, make sure that the macroeconomic fundamentals are right. And in particular, I don't see any reason at all why Africa should continue importing food from outside. And therefore, we need to keep our handle on food inflation. Second is on energy-driven inflation. We can collaborate as African countries to make sure that energy inflation is contained, and these are two major drivers of instabilities. So this is one important point. The second important point, the global turbulences should be a lesson to all of us to collaborate even more within the African continent. So there are regional projects that we need to work together. Africa is disconnected, continues to be disconnected. Why don't we work on regional transportation projects, work on regional or power interconnectors so that we are able to put together our resources with the support of regional development banks like AFREXIMBANK. And finally, I think it is very important that all of us in the continent, we tap the ingenuity of our young people, right from the leadership positions. It's very important that we groom our young people and already put them in position to take over the African leadership. So I thought I should say those to conclude our very good discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will be remiss. I want to acknowledge, though not speaking, that we have in the room the rep for the president of Chad, who is the Minister of Finance. So let me thank all our contributors for this wonderful engagement. It is difficult to squeeze such distinguished gentlemen into this short period. So let's a round of applause for our distinguished contributors. And then let me call Mark to come and tell us what is. There you are. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor, for steering that so amiably. One last thing before we go to a break, and then when we come back, His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and other dignitaries will join our wonderful sitting presidents, former presidents, vice presidents, presidential representatives for the official opening of the AAM 2025. So before we do that, one last thing. I said it's not just about talk. I said it's also about walk when we come to these annual meetings of AFREXIMBANK. We're going to do one last thing, and this is truly a milestone in Africa's financial journey. It is the PAPS card launch, the PAPS card launch, the Pan-African Card Scheme. This is the official unveiling of this first ever Pan-African Card Scheme, and it's a groundbreaking innovation. It's the fruit of a collaboration between PAPS and Mercury Payment Services. I've got mine. PAPS Card is set to revolutionize the way individuals, SMEs, businesses transact across the continent. The PAPS Card not only reduces costs and streamlines payments, but also ensures that our data, very important, and the value remains within Africa's borders, empowering us all. The PAPS card ensures that retail payments, sovereignty, and interoperability is a definite. Now, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the future of payment, made in Africa, by Africa, for Africa. So now to do the official launch of the PAPS card, I will now invite a number of people to the stage. First of all, those that have done some heavy lifting on this, I'm going to invite to the stage to give the cards. I'm going to ask you to assist me to give the cards, their first cards. Heads of states will get the first cards. So please welcome Mike Ogbalu, who is the CEO of PAPS, the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. Very hardworking guy, Mike, but always smiling. What is that about? Mr. Bosco Sebabi is the acting CEO of PAPS Cards. So he's the one that actually is in that division. Bosco, please join us, Sebabi. Mr. Muzaffer Koka, chairman of Mercury. You remember I mentioned that Mercury were involved in the production and very Mercury payment systems. Give them a round of applause. These are the engines behind the PAPS cards. Now, I will invite in this order, I'm going to invite the heads of state here present and those representing heads of states to come join us on the stage for this official launch. If you are representing a head of state, or indeed, if you are the head of state, like the president of Malawi and our brothers from the Caribbean, please join us on the stage and give them a round of applause as they come onto the stage to launch the PAP card. I will also ask Professor Orama. This is, you know, you are the leader behind this. Please join us. Former heads of state, please join us as well. Former heads of state are very, very welcome. President Obasanjo, Mamadou Issoufou, President Mamadou Issoufou, President Macky Sall, and others, please join for this momentous occasion. You're also very welcome. And if there are any sitting ministers here that are here with the president, you're also welcome to join. There's a lot of finance ministers in the place. I would also invite onto the stage for this group photo from AFREXIMBANK, Mr. Dennis Denya, Senior EVP. George, are you George Elombi? You heard from him earlier. Please, George, come and join us, EVP from AFREXIMBANK. And Haitham El Mayergi, EVP. Mr. Ekene Uzo, who is the Direct Group Management Office for AFREXIMBANK. Mrs. Marlene Ngoye, the CEO of FEDA, please join us. Muzaffer Hamid, CEO of Mercury. Mrs. Desire Rumanyika from the Bank of Kigali, please join us. And also from I&M Bank Rwanda, Mr. Henry, please join us here. And if one of my colleagues can help me to organize the picture, that would be wonderful. I know they're listening backstage. Could you come and help me? Maybe my fellow MC. I need a pair of hands, please. Mr. Blaise Gasabari, CEO of R-Switch, and Dr. Agada Apochi, who's the CEO of Unified Payments. Now, as we assemble, Mike Ogbalu, Mr. Mike Ogbalu, Mike, we have cards to give to them, not right? We actually have physical cards. I need you to help me here to assemble the heads of states and for the photo and give. I know you have a limited number of cards. You give the cards to whoever you want to give the cards to. So please go ahead. Come on, let's do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask all of you. I'm going to ask all of you to organize yourself in a group family photo for the PAPS card launch program. If I could have the heads of states and former heads of states at the front, please. And if you could assemble behind them, please don't block a head of state or a former head of state or a representative of a head of state, please. If you don't fit that description, please stand behind.
Les chefs d'État sont invités, anciens chefs d'État sont invités à se positionner sur la ligne de devant afin qu'on puisse prendre la photo.
Okay, I'm going to ask. So he said to the Prime Minister of Bahamas, he said very soon he will have his card. He said very soon he will have his card. One of the first cards will go to you, Your Excellency. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, cameraman, are you ready? Yes, okay. So How does that look? That looks definitely like a family. Doesn't it look like a family, ladies and gentlemen?
A beautiful family indeed.
If I could ask you to close in a little bit, the wide-angled lens is struggling, so just pull in a little bit on the sides there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a true milestone in Africa's financial journey. The official unveiling of the PAPS card, the first ever Pan-African card scheme. It's a groundbreaking innovation. Let's take this photo now. Ladies and gentlemen, you pulled out the cards. That's even better. That's even better. Let's see the cards. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, after 1, 2, 3, all say PAPS. 1, 2, 3. You've just witnessed history. Round of applause, please. Okay, if I would ask you to please exit the stage carefully, please.
Nous vous invitons à redescendre, mesdames et messieurs, après cette belle photo.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm going to ask you to remain in your seats, please, so that we have an organized, and the heads of state, representatives, now you are going to go to lunch. You are going to go to lunch. So we are going to allow them to exit the building. Please remain at your seat. Let them exit the building, and then we will go to lunch. Okay, so please allow the heads of states, representatives of heads of states, and former heads of states to exit the building first, please. Do not rush. Sit down. Madam, please. Madam, I said sit down. Madam.
Mesdames et messieurs, nous vous invitons à patienter pendant que les anciens chefs d'État, les chefs d'État...
The hardest part of the job. I'm telling you, the hardest part of the job. Okay. Please remain in your seats for the heads of states to exit the room. We'll be back here again shortly. I don't know, I think that's later. When do I tell them to back? So, ladies and gentlemen, the program starts at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. The official opening at 2 p.m. Be seated before 2 p.m. Otherwise, you might not get a seat. It's going to be standing room only. 2 p.m., ladies and gentlemen, 2 p.m.
Mesdames et messieurs, l'heure où nous allons nous retrouver ici est 14 heures. Nous vous prions de bien vouloir revenir et être assis ici dans cette salle à 14 heures si vous voulez pouvoir assister à cette cérémonie. Merci bien.